I think the most dangerous thing is when you don't have a game plan, you're going to be distracted by everything that comes your way. And it is so possible to sit in your home office or wherever you're going to work and just respond and react all day long and feel completely burnt out by the end of the day and not feel like you got the most important things done. And that to me is the biggest trap.
You're listening to the Legal Mastermind Podcast with your hosts Ryan Klein and Chase Williams, the go-to podcast for learning from the experts in the legal community about effective ways to grow and manage your law firm.
Today on the Legal Mastermind Podcast, we have Eva Wisnik, the president and founder of Wisnik. Wisnik helps law firms hire the right people. Since 1996, it looks like you've placed over 800 professionals in law firms. And today, we're super excited to be talking about creating some structure in your day. And of course, I have my co-host, Ryan Klein, here with me. Welcome to the Legal Mastermind.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here with you guys.
And we're in the middle of the coronavirus lockdown right now. So I think a lot of the things we'll be talking about today, as far as structure, as far as working from home, will help a lot of people during this time, and then also setting them up for success in the future.
Absolutely.
I know I gave you I gave our audience a brief introduction about yourself, but do you want to tell us a little bit more about your background?
Sure. So I started in law firms over 30 years ago as a recruiter in New York City for two large Wall Street law firms. I was in charge of recruiting new attorneys, laterals, partners, and then I got very involved with professional development, which was the training of the lawyers. I have an MBA in marketing, and I'm certified in a whole bunch of career assessments. I spent 260 hours training with Tony Robbins 3 years ago. I'm doing a whole well-being nutrition program. So this is something that's really, really interesting to me, not just the success of lawyers, but their well-being and their fulfillment in addition.
That's pretty amazing. Was that one-on-one training with Tony Robbins? How did that work?
No, I signed up for something called a platinum membership, which allowed me to go to every program he did in the course of a year, plus 3 programs that were exclusive to platinum members. And they were focused on things like economy and financial relationships. So in the scope of that 1 year, it ended up being 260 hours of training.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
Yeah, it was life-changing. It was incredible, yeah.
Cool. So I guess really starting off, we're going to dive straight in talking about structure, talking about getting the most out of your day and time.
Yeah.
So where do you start?
Yeah. So I've been thinking about that for many years because I've done a lot of time management for law firms, time management training for lawyers and law firms. But I think in particular, if somebody is working from home, as many people are right now, I think it's so important to develop, I would call them rituals, like a morning ritual, an afternoon ritual, and even an evening ritual. And in the morning, I think it's important to ideally start your day at the same time or close to it each day, and really be able to identify what it is that you want to get done, put some structure to it, put some goals to it. I think for those of, again, the people who are working from home, maybe if it's new to them, even creating a space where this is my workspace. I think it's almost dangerous to have your workspace and be your dining room table and kind of merge where you eat and where you work so that you can't even differentiate between those different aspects of your life. I think in the afternoon, I would set up a time where you maybe do a little bit of a transition. For me, in being home now just finished my second week being home here in New York City, I take the dog out for a walk midday, or I put on an exercise class, online one for 45 minutes. I need some kind of a transition so I can not just be either working all day or not knowing when I've finished working and I'm doing other things. And then in the evening, really thinking about how you want to end your day in terms of what things you want to finish up doing, making maybe some notes about what you want to get done the next day, and then literally like closing down the laptop or closing off that room and just really trying to distance yourself a little bit. And I really think you're going to be more productive when you have a beginning, a middle, and an end to a day, as opposed to having it all merge into one thing.
Yeah, I feel like working from home, I've been doing it for, on and off, like a hybrid model, going in the office, working from home for maybe the past, 7 or 8 years now. And I get into some slumps where I'll sit down and start working at 7 o'clock in the morning, and all of a sudden it's 7 o'clock at night, and I don't take those breaks. But
does it burn you out a little bit sometimes?
Yeah, like when you're in the moment, you're drinking coffee, you don't have those distractions that you have in a normal workplace where somebody comes into your office or
Yeah.
you're going to go to the bathroom or
Yeah.
run
Yeah.
to the kitchen. It's like, oh, I can jump into my kitchen, throw something in the microwave, grab some cereal, and just I'm trying to bust through my work as quickly as possible. But then I feel like you do get drained out really quickly, but you get a lot done. But then do it day after day, it sort of drags on you.
Yeah. In the short run, I think it is, you can get more done. But I think if the answer is how can you stay productive long term and also keep producing high quality work, it might be better to put some rituals in place that can really help you have that kind of structure.
Yep, 100%.
I feel like I've already failed every single part of your checklist because I believe that I am literally using a dining room table as my desk right now. But it is a good spacious for my several monitors. So
Yeah.
yeah, I guess it takes a lot of reevaluation and kind of reflection to be like, I don't think it's as easy as people think to work from home. I don't think it just translates from the office and it's like I'm doing the same thing at home. I mean, there's just so much going on, and especially with establishing the fact that people should maintain a work-life balance. I mean, you're working where you typically balance it with your life.
Yeah. It's
So,
hard.
yeah.
It's really hard. Yeah.
So what are some steps that people can do to be efficient? Like, because it's hard for individuals to understand that they're not always as efficient as they think they are. And so how can they get set up?
Yeah. I think that's a great question. Well, I think efficiency, it helps to be a little bit organized, right? So, if you have certain ways to either keep track of paper or put things in files, if it's physical things, maybe separate your, office mail from your personal mail if you're still getting things through the mail. But just being able to know where things are, where you could pick things up, even using things like your email, tagging things with certain colors so that this is urgent, I got to get back to this person versus this so that I can read at my leisure. Efficiency comes, I think, from knowing what's going to get you the best results and having that kind of a focus. So I'm going to throw something out that's a little out there, but it definitely works for me. And I like to think of myself as a pretty analytical business person who spent her whole career working with lawyers. The way I start my day out is I do a lot of things on my phone. I take out my phone in the morning when I'm having my first cup of coffee, and I write out my intentions for the day. Like, what's going to make this a good day? What do I absolutely have to get done? Who do I need to get in touch with? And whether you call them goals or intentions, I come into my day with that level of clarity, and it helps me not to get as distracted or thrown off as I think I otherwise would.
I think Jason and I do something pretty similar, and I'd agree that works.
Yeah, what is it?
We run like our whole business off of project management software, Asana for some tasks or Trello. But I know personally, I take those tasks and I write them down on a sheet of paper so I can physically see what I have to do every single day versus logging into a system which is very organized and people can keep track of me and I can keep track of my overall process and goals and everything I need to accomplish for maybe the foreseeable future. But I think writing physically down on a sheet of paper my task for the day mentally help me realize this is what I need to accomplish. And when those things are done, I can somewhat end my day, because otherwise I'll be working until my wife yells at me and tells me it's dinner time.
Yeah, and you know what? I love that idea. And I think one of the things here is I believe different things really work for different people. Like some people are extremely visual and they use color coding things. Some people have to write and literally they write things down just to cross them out because that gives them a little sense of satisfaction. For me, I'm a little bit bigger picture and I need kind of what is my goal today? What will make this a good day? And I think the most important thing is to kind of figure out who you are and what's going to work for you, right? Some people use whiteboards and they cross things out because they want it like right in front of them. I think the most dangerous thing, and I've seen this for lawyers at mid-sized firms, small firms, my husband has his own practice, solo practice in New York City, is when you don't have a game plan, you're going to be distracted by everything that comes your way. And it is so possible to sit in your home office or wherever you're going to work and just respond and react all day long and feel completely burned out by the end of the day and not feel like you got the most important things done. And that to me is the biggest trap.
Do you have any sort of, and I think we can talk about a little bit like technology and tools and tips
Sure.
that you mentioned before, but one thing that I think of, especially because our team members, of course, are working from home as well. And one thing that I think about immediately is like, if they have a work computer that's set up perfectly and we have our work internet that's like super speedy, and then they go home and they use like their personal computer that's loaded with a bunch of crap, and then they have internet that's really intended just for browsing and not really work. Is there any way to gauge or help anyone evaluate, like, by the way, you're not really set up for success?
Yeah,
from
that's a great question. I'll be very honest, I'm not a technology expert person. I'm more sort of, understand the tools. So I think that the question is, what I would do, and I'm doing it right now. I've got 2 college kids who got ejected from their colleges because of what's happening right now. And my son is a really good tech kid, and he actually helped me set my first Zoom call today. I've been on Zoom calls, but I've never set one up. And so find somebody in your life that actually has that expertise, or maybe it's really worth it to invest a little bit of money and make sure that you have the right tools, because the return on investment in having the right tools is going to make you so much more productive rather than frustrated, right?
Absolutely. Does that mean that this is your second Zoom call?
No, I've been on them, but I've never set one up myself.
Oh,
So
I see. Set it up. Oh, okay.
Yes. Yeah. It's a little different. It doesn't sound so challenging, but I was a little bit, yes, I've been on them, but I've never actually initiated one. Yeah,
they're great. Now we know why their stock's been up 100% since January
exactly.
31st.
Absolutely. But the truth is, depending on how long you've been practicing, some of these things are intimidating, right? And to me, I do believe this is a productivity suggestion I'm going to give right now, which is that if there's anything that is uncomfortable or intimidating, like not knowing how to use a technology or a billing software or business development, find some resources, go look for the kind of podcasts you guys put together and get the resource, because the amount of energy worrying that you don't have something and undermining yourself and hoping that it doesn't cause a problem, that is the biggest waste of energy, right? And it takes away from our productivity when we're worried that we're not capable of something, or we don't know how to use something, or you don't know something technical in the law. That prohibits you from actually producing the best possible work for your clients and being of the greatest value.
With as much as we have to really, concern ourselves legitimately and worry about, the last thing it should be is stuff like this, because we only have like so much that we can hopefully be stressed about right now and maintain like our well-being. So I guess that being said, everyone's under pressure. Lawyers are already constantly under pressure. Could we maybe go over some I don't know if it's relaxation, but whatever tips to be
I try very hard to avoid words like meditation and other things like that. I'm going to focus it this way, because again, I love for people to take things away after they listen to this. So one of the most stressful things, I think, for most attorneys is, am I going to have enough business, at any time, right now in particular, but it's any time. And I'm a big believer that you have to stop and say, well, what do I have control over? And even myself, I've had my own business for 24 years, which means I don't get a paycheck unless I make something happen. Somebody thinks I've done a good job and sends me money, right? So I don't have control as to how many law firms are going to hire me to do well-being programs this year, but I do have control over how many people I reach out to and how much content I put out there that's valuable, and where I'm speaking, where people get to know what I'm about, and how I use social media. So to me, one of the things that you can decrease your stress with is by saying, well, what can I do today? So I'm really building my business and my relationships and growing my business as a result of that. And one of the things I always tell lawyers is one action a day, at least one phone call a day, one meeting. Right now, we're not having physical meetings, but soon we will be. It could be a Skype meeting, checking in with people. What's going on with your business? How are things going? What are the new challenges you're facing? But literally putting yourself out there and connecting to past clients, existing clients to find out what else you could do for them, and possibly prospects. So to me, I feel a lot less stressed when at the end of the day, I know I've done everything I could have done to keep building my business. And then now I've done my part, and the rest of it I have to kind of almost surrender to and trust that it's going to work out the way it should be, rather than sitting here and fretting and worrying and getting myself all stressed out about it.
I love it. So while we're on the topic of meetings, something I was very curious about, I've read, we've read a bunch about, various books and strategies about structuring a meeting. Yeah. And one thing we used to have meetings that would last an hour and a half sometimes, but one day we just cut everything to max 30 minutes. Do you have any, and that works for us personally with, what we're trying to accomplish.
I like that. So I think if I used to tell this to lawyers when they were physically, especially if they were having a client or a prospective client come to their offices, if you start a meeting with an agenda, like literally like saying, here's what we want to cover, and at the end of it, you could say questions or comments. I feel like you're not going to waste my time. So when a lawyer wants to get somebody's business, if they come into the meeting prepared and, here's what we need to cover, and we have 30 minutes and how valuable your time is, I'm going to walk away thinking that lawyer is probably not going to waste his or her time doing my business. They're going to be efficient when they bill me, and they're going to be focused when they are providing me with services, right? So I love that. As a matter of fact, I noticed the Zoom call I just scheduled, that I just had right before our call, it said 40 minutes was the limit on the Zoom call. That's what it said. Maybe it's because there's not that much bandwidth right now because everybody's doing Zoom calls. But I can't imagine a meeting that should go longer than 40 minutes unless it's a real strategy meeting where you're solving problems and making decisions, right?
Sure.
But I have to tell you, I think there's a trap in there, which is that sometimes, and I used to see this when I worked inside of large law firms, sometimes people want to have long meetings because they don't want to go back to doing their work because something's sitting on their desk that is overwhelming or intimidating. Right?
That's a funny point. And do you think that's a possibility of that happening more often? Because there's always the social interaction, and people get a lot of FaceTime and conversations and building relationships with their coworkers going to work. So do you think that people are going to be engaged?
Oh, that's a great question.
Well, so
you know what? I think the answer might be yes. I was just on the Zoom call I had was a bunch of CMOs and directors of HR at law firms. There's 6 of us on a call. These heads of law firms I've known for many, many years. I put them together as a resource group for each other. And what they were saying they were doing is they were putting, they were scheduling like a 4:30 Friday, just like a happy hour. Let's just check in. What are you going to watch on Netflix this weekend? So I think that there's differentiating when you really want to have a social call and a connective call, which I think are very important for the soul, versus a business call. Like that's where that intentionality is. What am I doing right now? And what am I trying to accomplish is so important, right? So I will reward myself with talking to people. I just want to chat and hear how they're doing after I've gotten my work done. Not merging those two things together. I think it's like, working in the same space that you're, gonna eat your dinner in. It's merging all that stuff. I think our brains get confused, and they can't be efficient when they're confused.
I hear you. I'm already talking to Chase. We're like, we're gonna do this with our team next Friday. The only issue is that if they do it at 4:30 Eastern time, I'm gonna have a beer at 1:30 technically. And
then you could do a coffee. You could do a Monday morning. Let's kick off the week with a coffee. You could do a lunchtime thing. So it's some people's lunch, sometimes it's breakfast. I love that idea though. I thought it was a really cool idea.
I do too. Yeah. I mean, it's if you're used to taking your lunch with like your group of people and certain people. I mean, just hop on your Skype. We'll hang out.
Everybody's trying to give advice right now about what to do about this change, and that's like the best piece of advice I've seen.
Oh, I'm
so
glad.
Have a virtual happy hour.
Why not, right? So I love it. I'm so glad that was helpful. Well, I'm going to throw out another thing. You talked about stress, and lawyers do tend to have a higher stress level. According to the ABA statistics, when they've surveyed many lawyers, the numbers are a little bit startling high. The other thing I've seen over the years that frequently happens is that many attorneys, because they take such pride in their work and they've gone through so much education, they have a tendency towards perfection, which can be valuable at times, but there are times where progress is so much more healthy than just perfection. And what I used to wonder why certain people procrastinated, which is sort of the other side of time management. And I thought it was bad habits. And now I actually have come to believe it's perfection, that people don't want to let something go, a memo or an email or something they're working on until they think it's absolutely perfect. And I think that's a trap, because sometimes you just need to get something out and know it's as good as it can be. That doesn't mean it can have typos in it, but that getting things out efficiently, depending on who you're getting that out to, like an internal email or something like that, is more important than perfection. So I want our listeners to really think about that, when they're in the middle of working on something. Am I is this perfection I'm looking for, or do I need to move something forward today?
I love that. I know that there's specific tasks where I get caught up in. I'm taking notes here myself too.
Well, that's a compliment. Thank you. There's another thing I want to just mention, and I think this is something that I, again, studying lawyers and putting together this new well-being program that I launched in January. Didn't know it was going to be as timely as it is, but super excited about it. Is I mentioned earlier in the program that I had done a lot of work with Tony Robbins. One of the models that he taught us was a human needs model, like what are our biggest drivers? And there are 6 drivers, but the one I want to focus in on is certainty. And as humans, we all have a certain need for certainty. We need to know that we have a place to live, we have food to eat, that we're safe. And right now, certainty is not quite as available to us as it could normally be. And I think that's why we see so much anxiety, and you see people, stocking up on toilet paper and things like that. But lawyers as a group tend to have a higher need for certainty than the average person, from what I've seen, what I've experienced, what I've studied. And the thing with certainty is that it can lock us into things. Like, so for example, can you ever be certain that if you reach out to a client, you stay in touch with them, that they're going to give you business? Can you ever be certain of certain things? So I just want, again, if somebody's listening to this, I wanted to think about, like, is certainty something that is such a high need of mine that I'm limiting myself in opportunities because I can't have certainty? Or is that something that's triggering me? I think I was born of certainty, but I've convinced myself, the day I quit my big law firm job to start my own company, that I would have more certainty if I took the risk and had a business, rather than thinking I had certainty by staying with a large firm, because who knows, if that was going to be a permanent opportunity for me, right?
Sure. I think it's the leap of faith that many business owners and entrepreneurs take when they're in that secure position.
And so it's interesting, because right now I think that a lot of what we see, I've talked to a bunch of again, heads of law firms that I stay in touch. My goal this week last 2 weeks has been to reach out at least to 2 people who are leaders in law firms to find out what's going on, different size firms, different locations, just to kind of get a pulse on what's happening out there. And they've been saying that one of the things that's been really startling is the anxiety level among associates, worrying about whether their jobs will exist, worrying about whether the firm's going to be okay. And I get it to some extent, but I think that, if we can just manage our own certainty anxiety, we'd be better off. So instead of sitting here and freaking out, like, oh my gosh, all these law firms going to stop hiring, I've got all these jobs that are in motion right now, and I had an amazing year last year. My thought is, what else can I do? What can I learn? I'm taking 3 online classes right now, which I had started even before this whole thing. The more I have to offer people, the more certainty I'm going to have that I'm going to be of value to clients. I do have control over that every day.
I think that's a great way to wrap it up. That's a good thought. It also came full circle. So I always appreciate when that happens. Yeah. And then as far as, for listeners that are, enjoyed what we talked about today and are interested in learning more about what you can do or how you can help, what are the best ways they can get in contact with you?
Sure. So our website is Wisnik.com, and on the website itself, under client intelligence, I write a blog every 2 weeks. It has a lot of these well-being articles in there that people can access absolutely for free. I've rolled out this well-being program for law firms. It's for lawyers and also legal professionals. Super excited about it. Tons of tips and hands-on things people could do. Again, I'm always a believer that not everything's going to work for everybody, so people have to take what works for them. In there, I even have suggestions on how to do self-care, how to be able to maybe manage your mind, which is a whole another thing we haven't even gotten a chance to talk about. How do you stay positive and really manage our minds so our mind doesn't just digress to fear, which is how it's built. It's made to keep us alive, not happy. So I love to share those tips with people. I do travel the country, so if people are in different cities and let me know where they are, I can let you know if I'm going to be going to that city. My clients are predominantly law firms. I don't work with individuals, but I have worked with over 120 different law firms. So if anybody's interested in an online program, an in-person program, I'd love to hear from them. And our website's probably the best way to reach us, www.wisnik.com.
Thanks for your time.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to the Legal Mastermind podcast. If you're interested in working with Ryan and Chase, please email mastermind@marketmymarket.com. Make sure to join the free mastermind group for growing and managing your firm at lawfirmmastermind.com. Ryan Klein and Chase Williams are the managing partners at Market My Market, one of the top legal marketing companies in the United States.